Hey friends, Jessie here from jessiebanks.com and welcome back to another video in 2022. So we're kicking things off with WPlus9. Here's a bunch of pencils I picked out to start. There are more. Of course, everything is linked in the description box down below. So this is WPlus9's Flora and Fauna 3 and we're going to use this big stamp up at the top. And I have cut a piece of Strathmore Toned Gray sketchbook paper down to 3.5 by 8.5, which is a slimline card size. So we're kicking things off and just jumping right into the coloring. I decided to do this one in colored pencils. I haven't done a lot lately. I think the whole world situation kind of messed with my head in the last little while. I'm not used to being stuck at home like I have been in the last couple of years, and it got a little rough. So I decided that, you know what, I'm going to pick something out and I'm just going to color it. So I'm keeping the stamp off to the side there just because it's cut off on the one edge with the way I stamped it. I want to make sure that I'm coloring things the color that they're supposed to be so it doesn't drive me crazy at the end. So I'm starting off with a Luminance pencil. Here it is a dark green. I do believe it's brown olive. Let me pull out my book so I can see what colors I used. Yes, so it's brown olive, or olive brown, pardon me, and then I'm going to use the olive brown 50%, the olive brown 10%, and a white pencil as well on these leaves. Everything's going to get 2 coats of color. I'm not going to make you watch all of that. I think I do on the larger flowers just to give you an idea of the burnishing process when I get to the second layer. I don't like to put too many layers on this paper because it is just thin sketchbook weight paper. It's nothing super heavy duty. If you can hear anything behind me, my cat's messing around. I'm not sure what he's up to. So we go through and put the dark and then the medium and then the lighter color. And that's going to be the process through this entire coloring. It's just a whole bunch of layers and blending them together. I'm not using odorless mineral spirits or any type of oils or anything like that. For blending, I'm just blending completely with the colored pencils themselves. So I hope everybody had a splendid new year and relaxed or went out or did whatever it was on your hope list to do. I was in bed by 11 o'clock. My son was very disappointed in that, but my eyes were sandpaper. I'm an old lady. I go to bed. I get up at 4 a.m. That's my excuse. So we're jumping into the light here, and then I will show you like one leaf of the second coat on this, but you can see how the white pencil just kind of picks up really well where no color has been applied just because it doesn't slip over it. It's got some tooth there. So what are you doing? So it's got some tooth, so it picks up the color and it kind of really makes them bright and vivid and pop out, which gives you good mapping for your second coat. I really don't have a ton to talk about. I don't know what to talk about, guys, and we got a lot of time to fill in, so I guess I better figure something out. What am I going to do on the channel this year? I have no idea. I have made promises before. I have tried to stick to a schedule before. I have done all sorts of things. I have a new computer now. Editing takes me a little bit longer because I'm still learning this program. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to film and do what I want to do. We're probably going to see some new stuff on the channel. Of course, I'm still going to make cards and things. This is probably my most favorite thing to do, is sit down and color and render some artwork into, or some line art, full color and just make it big and beautiful. It's kind of always been my jam, so there'll definitely be lots of this. Or very little, depending on how my mood goes. It's been rough, guys. So we're just going to play it by ear. And I hope you'll stick around. And I hope you'll follow along. And I hope you'll enjoy whatever content it is I do get put out this year. Definitely let me know what you're enjoying and what you're not enjoying on the channel and things of that nature. I don't know. We're just gonna play it by ear and hopefully figure out how to enjoy doing YouTube again, because I miss it and I'm just not sure what to do or where to go. So both of these big flowers are going to be like a corally pink type color when we're finished. Again, I will have all the colors listed down below as to where they went. Starting off with just slightly mapping out our shadows and our highlights. So our first coat is just light coloring over top of everything. This is sped up. I think it's like 800 times the original speed. So like when we started out, guys, I had like 3 hours of footage. So I think we did pretty good to bring it down to, I'm not even sure how long this is yet. But I think I did pretty good. I sped it up a lot. We didn't have a choice. We'd be here forever and you'd be real sick of my voice. So I know in this next year, I am going to try not to buy a ton of art supplies because that was a major downfall of mine last year. I bought very few stamps and things to color and paint, which is something I enjoy. And I bought a whole bunch of art supplies. So this year we're going to use that whole bunch of art supplies, use some older stamps. Of course, I'm going to try to make sure I pick out things that are still available and you can still get your hands on in case you don't have them and you fall in love. But I'm just going to use stuff. I'm just going to make things. I'm not on any design teams. I have no commitments. I like in terms of card making and arting. So I'm just going to do me and we're just going to have fun and we're just going to see where it takes us. If any opportunities pop up, if any things catch my eye, I'm just going to do me in the next year. That's kind of the mission on everything. Just going to have some fun and do me. So, this color is one of my favorites. So this is not white. This is called Pink White. It is from Luminance and it just has a slight pink hue to it. And I find it absolutely perfect for florals because it's not that stark white that I used in the leaves. So it has that little bit of color, but it still gives you a super vivid punch to the highlights of my florals. And it's definitely become one of my favorites to reach for on a regular basis when I want something that's just not quite white, because most of the creams and stuff are a little too dark for my personal liking, and I find that I have to layer white over the cream to get the color I want. But this Pink White is just kind of like the best of both worlds. I find it absolutely perfect. It is definitely one that I will keep in my arsenal to mix with all of my colored pencils. As you can see, I am not like being brand specific here. I have pulled out some of my Luminance, some of my Faber-Castell Polychromos, some of my Prisma color pencils. I have a swatch book. Whoops, I bumped something. I hope that wasn't too loud. I have a swatch book with not all of my mediums in them, but a fair bit of them. And I just kind of look at the colored pencils and I pick out the colors that I want to use. Maybe I'll show you guys this book in another video, but I really enjoy choosing the colors I want instead of choosing a brand and making the colors work, if that makes sense. So there's going to be a lot more of that this year, just using colors instead of being brand specific and mixing my things together. And like all these colored pencils will work together, whether they're oil based or wax based or whatever, they'll all work together. Use the color you want to use. Same with watercolors. It doesn't matter if it's Daniel Smith, if it's Schminky, if it's Stone Ground, if it's Sennelier, if it's Cotman, if it's Core, if it's, what else is there? The Koi watercolors, any of them. They'll all work together. Pick the color you want to use. Don't worry about being like, today I painted with all my Daniel Smith, unless you're like a brand loyal person where only what you own is one brand. Then fine. But if you have stuff from different brands, just use the colors you want to use. Don't worry about like, and it all don't have to be done with one. They all work together. A watercolor is a watercolor. It'll play with other watercolors. Yes, some are more chalky when you get into the student lines and lesser and craft grade and all that kind of stuff. They'll still all paint together. Use the color you want to use. Especially in terms of like making cards and things. These don't have to last 100 years. They don't have to be perfect. Just play and have fun and experiment and let's use our supplies and I need to stop hoarding my supplies. That's about all it comes down to. I just need to use the stuff I have so that when I buy something new, I can justify it being like, but I've been using everything. So I can buy myself a treat. I do know that I am going to the art store the end of next week. I have a gift card for a Christmas present, so I am going to spend that. I'm actually probably going to pick up some more gouache to add to my Holbein gouache collection because I've really been enjoying doing gouache art, not in terms of painting cards with it, just my own art. And you guys will get to see some of that coming up on the channel too, I'm sure. So I think I'm going to add to that with that gift card, and that's it. Unless I run out of paper and things like that, I'm going to, or something that like I absolutely have to have, like this pink white pencil or like a white colored pencil or a black colored pencil. When I use those up, I am going to replace them. There's something I use all the time, but I'm not going to go out and buy a whole bunch more new things just to have new things anymore. I'm going to use the things I haven't used in forever, and they will feel new and they need to be used, and they can't just sit on a shelf while I buy other things to collect, because this is getting insane. So we'll revisit this at the end of the year and kind of see how it went and see my verdict. I have a book that I'm going to keep track of everything I buy in terms of crafting wise. So we'll see how this turns out at the end of the year. Fingers crossed for me, guys, because last year was a bad year. So we're getting to the end of the flower, and I showed you guys both layers of that, and you can kind of see how the finishing layer really makes them jump out now that I went on my tangent. Now we're going to fill in these little flowers in the background, and I'm doing them in like a dusty purple type color. We're going to go back to, I'll show you one coat and I'll show you a second coat of one flower and then finish them. That little pencil sharpener is probably my favorite pencil sharpener. It's a brass pencil sharpener. It weighs a lot. I'm holding it in my hand here. That's why I said a lot. It has two blades, one on either side, one for bigger pencils and charcoal pencils and things like that. And then one for your standard pencils and colored pencils and things. You can replace the blades. I really enjoy it. It gives me a nice long, pretty tip. It wasn't cheap, but I use it all the time. And I've had it for like 3 years. So it's my favorite pencil sharpener. And I've tried all sorts of pencil sharpeners, but that one's my favorite. Random, but I saw it on the screen, so I figured we'd talk about it. So we're going to continue to go through, just like all of the other parts, working from dark to light to get that blend of color. Everything looks really rough and messy and sketchy on the first coat. And on the second coat, we tighten it all up and burnish it out. Like I said, this card took me hours to make, and I love it. I'm so happy with how this one turned out, which usually means most people aren't going to like it, because I find that if I really like how something turned out, everybody else is like, meh. But that's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm creating for me. I'm not creating for everybody else. And I'm posting these because I enjoy doing YouTube, and for no other reason than that. I did use the pink white pencil for this one as well, just because it works in that same family with the dusty purples and things of that nature. So we're getting through that. Now we will show you guys the burnishing out part. Look, I even zoomed in for you. Aren't you proud of me? And it's nothing special. Like, I'm not being super fussy about it. I'm just going through and following the artist online. So what Dawn gave us for little black lines to show folds and wrinkles in the petals, I'm following those with some shadows. And then of course the center of the flower is in shadow compared to the outside, so that gets nice and dark, and then we're just blending it out with our lighter colors all the way to our pink white, and that's how they finish. And then poof, you'll get to see all of them done. Oh, pardon me. Now I'm just going through and quickly filling in the inside of the little flowers with yellow, and then we are going to do a brown gradient in the middle of these. I will come back with some gouache at the end, just to add a few white highlights in the center of the flowers to make them pop out just a little bit more. I thought they needed a little bit more life. So once we get that all blended out, I go in with a black colored pencil and I'm going to outline this entire stamp. I'm just showing you guys this one leaf. This took me an hour and a half to keep a nice sharp pencil and to go over top of most, I can't say I got them all, most of the lines Dawn gave us in there. And you can just see how that kind of finishes it off and it tightens up the whole image. Then I'm going to stamp that with love with black ink. I forgot to film the stamping part of it, but I just stamped it on top with black ink. We're going to trace over that with black pencil after. It will jump out. Super crooked on the first stamp on the On Your Birthday, so we did it again. Cut that one out, and I'm going to give it a little angle, and we're going to pop that up on top of there once we get to that point. So I decided that the background needed a little bit more, and I didn't want to do anything too detailed because the flowers were a little intense. So off camera, I drew out a 1/4 inch border around this entire stamp. I didn't film that because my head was over top of it in order to make sure everything was lined up and right. And I've sped this up crazy fast. That's why it's super jumpy. It's like 1100 times the original speed. And we're just going to create like a shadow coming into the inside using some sepia pencils here. So we're blending that out, and then we'll go into lighter color and we're going to darken up the corners. It definitely took some time and some patience, but I think it looks really, really pretty in the end. So we're just slowly blending and darkening it up to kind of give it a look of, I don't know, like it's inset into the paper instead of all being flat. So you can see I'm slowly making little areas darker and just lightly blending it. I'm not burnishing any of this. I don't want anything real tight and smooth like the flowers. I definitely want it more scratchy and shadow-like looking than all the time we spent on our florals. We don't want it all to look too perfect. So we're just keeping on going. Once I get the outside done, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to put a little bit of a shadow on the bottom side of all of the flowers, so everything kind of facing down to the bottom of the page. And like I said, I have this super sped up, that's why it's kind of choppy here, but we can't be here all day, guys. I'm running out of things to talk about, and I like to talk. Like, I'm definitely a talker. So this is our lightest color to finish that up. Then we will do underneath of all of our flowers, and I'm using the exact same colors. So I'm using the same sepia colors from Luminance, and I'm just doing the underside of all the flowers. And then we will blend them out with a lighter color. And that kind of finishes off the main focal part of the card, I suppose. So let's get this done because I'm out of topics to talk about and I need the next part. No, I don't know. I'll figure it out. So yeah. Next. To take my black colored pencil. I like to use this Faber-Castell black pencil. It's probably my favorite. It's definitely a harder lead, and it can take me putting pressure on it and keeping it at a super tight and sharp point all the time. So just tracing over that with love. Then I tried to use a white colored pencil to line the image, and it just wasn't sharp enough. Well, the pencil was sharp enough, but I couldn't get enough of the white pigment over top of all of the colors I had sharpened up. So I finished it off so that it all looks the same. Now we're going to adhere it onto card base. So the card base is 3.5 by 8.5, and I cut a 1/4 inch off of our front panel before I adhered it on, so that gives us a nice little border all the way around. Then I pulled out some white gouache because I needed something that was going to stay on top of the card and definitely keep a bright and vivid white. My head was going to be in the way, so you just got a little bit of the W, but you can see the difference now on the With Love and how much it pops out. Then I'm going to put some white dots in the centers of all of our flowers, and we're going to adhere the On Your Birthday underneath and a few enamel dots, guys, and that's going to finish this card up. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, definitely leave them down below. I will check the comments periodically. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day. Bye.